What's up guys, I'm just a gamer and I'm back with my final thoughts, my review of Dragon Age the Veilguard. And if you've been following me at all, I've made my thoughts on this game very clear already, but I just wanted to cement it in stone. And also apology for the way I sound. I'm actually getting over a pretty bad cold. I was sick for like the last 3 days. So apologies for the way I sound and if I do any coughing during the video. So if anything, I'm going to keep this rather short because again, if you've been following me, you'll know my thoughts on this game already. And there's not much more I can add to it. So getting straight into it, the game is not bad. Let me make that clear. This is not a bad game. It's just disappointing because of there's so much this game could have done to be better, and there's just so much holding this game back in my opinion. But let's start with the combat. Let's just start with the combat. In my opinion, this game's combat is bland or generic. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just there's nothing really outstanding about it. I know they kept saying that, oh, we kept the pause and strategize feature from the previous games, but that's not really in there. I mean, the only reason to even use it is to set up your priming and detonating combos, and even then you don't have to use it because you have the quick select feature. And yeah, there's not really much to this game's combat. They give you this illusion of depth, but it's actually rather very restrictive. And also, the animations are very repetitive. Like, there's only one type of combo detonation, and it's just always the same, like a diamond, geometric diamond exploding. And the combo, like, you know, the finishers, like cinematic finishers, there's only 2 in the entire game, at least that I found. There's only 2. They're not even all that great looking. They're kind of rather bland. And again, it's just it's just very bland. There's just real no depth to this game because they give you this illusion of depth with this giant skill tree, and they've even said I remember like in previews, like there's gonna be like all these different combos you can unlock and abilities and skills, and there's not really. I mean, combo wise, there's really not that many combos. I think there's 2. Ability wise, there's not that many either. You get a few more if you go like the rogue wide, if you go the Veil Ranger route, where they give you a few more abilities that focus more on your bow and arrow, since you use the bow and arrow more in that build. But there's really not that much combo variation or that many combos in general. The only real difference between subclasses is what status effect you inflict on enemies. Whereas Duelist is necrotic, I believe Saboteur is bleeding, and I think Veil Ranger is shock, electricity, I think. But there's not that much depth in there, honestly, when it comes to like combo and skill variety. And that's even more so when it comes to what I think is the biggest flaw in this game is your companions, and the fact that combo primers and detonators are tied to class. Like a warrior, a rogue, and a mage, they can only prime and detonate certain combos. No matter, and that's it. Like, it's tied to class. Like, so even though Davrin and Tosh, you would think that, oh, since they're 2 different characters, they have 2 different types of priming and detonating, primers and detonators. No, they have the exact same primers and detonators. Same thing with the mages, same thing with the rogues. Your like primers and detonators are tied to your class. So in that regard, the best team composition you can have for combat throughout the entire game is to always have 1 warrior, 1 rogue, and 1 mage. To bring any other team composition besides that is to basically lose DPS. And on top of that, it's even more restrictive because your companions, unlike you, the player character, they have global cooldowns where if they use one skill, all their skills go on cooldown. So basically, you're gonna always want to use a primer and or detonator ability of theirs to get the most DPS. And yeah, like any other ability they have, no matter what else it does, it's useless, or it's not, you know, it's not optimal to use because you're losing out on damage instead. For example, again, the tanks, they have, I believe it's Rally? No. It's something that it allows them to pull aggro, if I'm not mistaken. They can pull aggro. But again, this uses up their ability cooldown. So, why aggro when you can either prime or detonate a combo? And, you know, do damage instead. So it's like, it's just this weird, like, they have this illusion of depth that's not really there. It's, yeah, I just don't, it's just, again, it's not bad, it's just very bland. It gets very old, because once you find the formula, you just stick to that formula the entire game. Like, there's no real enemy that makes you change it up. There's no real boss. The only time I ever had to change it up with bosses is when they had a shield, or they were immune to damage, and you had to break their shield around the room to make them susceptible to damage. That's the only time during like a boss fight that it felt any different than any other regular fight, because it was just, you know, you just prime detonate combos, quick stab real quick. Like, it's just constantly waiting for your priming and detonating of combos, because that's where almost all your damage comes from. And it's just, again, I guess if you wanted to, you could play in a different way, but that would just make the fights drag out longer. And it's just, why would you want to do that to yourself? And yeah, it's just like they give you this illusion of depth, but the combat is actually very surface level, because again, like, to be most optimal, you have to do certain things. You have to do certain detonations, certain combos, and yeah, that's it. You just rinse and repeat. Again, it's not bad. It's serviceable, but it's like, it's nowhere near the level of previous Dragon Age games. And even when it comes to like the action game variety, this game, I don't think it was made for action, just because it's too easy. Like, I'm so used to like Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, Berserker Kazan. Like, when you have to parry an attack coming, that attack is coming and you parry it, it's like immediate. But here in Veilguard, I would see the icon saying, hey, an attack's coming that's parryable. I would press it so fast that I would do the parry too soon. Like, way too soon. Like, I literally had to like see it, okay, now I press it. So, like, I was pressing the parry button way too fast, just because of how slow the attacks were coming. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like this, like, and again, people, you would say that, well, maybe on a harder difficulty, and I originally was planning to play this game on Nightmare difficulty to really get into it. But the moment it came out that they said, oh, Nightmare difficulty doesn't change anything, like, you know, enemy composition, nothing like that. All it does is make the enemies have more health and hit harder. They're just tankier, that's it. Why struggle through that? Why go through that when nothing's really changing? It's like, once you find the strategy of having, you know, as a rogue, set up one combo with my mage, set up one combo with my tank, get a few hits in, the cooldowns are up, okay. Combo again with the tank, combo again with the mage. It's rinse and repeat. It's rinse and repeat. There's really not much else to it. And yeah, again, it's not bad. It's just bland, and it gets, like, once you find the formula, it gets old real quick. Next up, I want to touch on the game's visuals, where even before the game came out, I had made it clear that I'm honestly was not a fan, or I'm still not a fan of this game's visual art style. Environments, they look good. I can say with full honesty, the environments in this game actually look really nice, really good. But the character models, I don't know what's, like, they have like this plastic sheen on them that makes everything look plasticky, like a doll, and then, or rubbery. And then, like, again, I don't know what it is, but like, all the characters, they all seem like they're squished down, like they feel like they're like very squished down, so they all look really small, like hobbits. Like that's like the visual vibe I'm getting from them. They all look like hobbits. They're all like visually very small. I like, it's just very weird. And altogether though, even with the good environments and the not so good character models, this game just visually does not scream Dragon Age. This game, like, Dragon Age is dark fantasy. And say what you will about Inquisition. I know some people would say that game didn't, lost a little bit as well. But I would still say that Dragon Age Inquisition still had some dark fantasy vibes and aesthetics to it. This game, I feel, has none. This game feels it looks very high fantasy, very majestic and bright and vibrant. And yeah, it does not feel or look like Dragon Age. And I also want to say that, like, again, coming back to like the characters, it looks very cartoony, like, and people were complaining that, oh, what you want, realistic graphics or some not, and I'm not saying that at all. I've said it in the past. Look at Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 had a very unique art style to it, but that art style still fit the dark fantasy vibe of the game. Whereas this, it's just straight up cartoony. None more so than when you look at the enemy design. Like, look at the ogres. I've posted it before, but look at the ogres of Dragon Age 1, 2, and 3, and then look at the ogres in this game. I don't care how different the Darkspawn are supposed to be. The character designs in this game are the character, or the designs in this game in general, are very cartoony. It's very family friendly looking, which also again just does not fit the dark fantasy vibe that it's supposed to be Dragon Age. And then there's like this game is rated mature. This game could have been rated T for teen, honestly. I think there were maybe 2 instances of blood in the game, or like 2 instances of like gruesome killings, not even. And then there's a toggle for nudity when you first play the game. I'm not trying to be a pervert, but like, what nudity? Where was there ever nudity in this game? And then in my mind I was thinking, well, maybe it's under the romance options. But my romance was hardening. There was no nudity there. And in my mind I was like, well, maybe they didn't want to put dwarf nudity. Maybe the nudity is capped to like other characters. And I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I checked Tosh's romance scene, and the only nudity I saw for her was they show her butt for 2 seconds. Maybe Nev's romance or Balara's romance, maybe they show some nudity that I'm just not aware of. But yeah, like I don't even know why like nudity was even an option to toggle on or off. I don't know. It was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. It's just like, again, the whole visually, this game, environment wise, looked good. Character wise, not good. Altogether, too cartoony, too high fantasy, and it was just not Dragon Age to me. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. The last thing I want to touch on is the game's story, and it's okay. It was very just like they want to invoke this sense of urgency, like time is of the essence. It's like you gotta move, you gotta do, you gotta build your forces and take these gods on, and you never get that. Like, yes, we help these people, but there's never this sense of like we're building an army, we're gathering our forces. Like I never got that. I never felt that. And it was just very, like, blah. It's like, the two main villains of the game, like, you don't even really feel their presence until halfway through when one of them finally shows up. And then the second one doesn't even show up until near the end of the game. And you're just like, oh, I forgot there was even another one there. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, there was never this sense of urgency. Like, they're trying to invoke that feeling, but I never felt it. It just felt like, this was a normal Tuesday, and it's funny because like throughout the game we're getting letters from the Inquisitor, giving us keeping us informed of what's happening in Ferelden and Orlais and the free marches, and apparently shit's going down over there, crazy like it's hell on earth over there. And I find that more interesting than the story they were playing in Veilguard. Like, I want to go back to Ferelden. I want to know what's going on over there. And to be fair, I mean, we did have 3 games to build a connection with Ferelden and Orlais Free Marches. We had 3 games, like, to build a bond, with that locale. Whereas we only had this 1 game for Tevinter. Which, again, if you played Inquisition and you played Trespasser, like, and you played all the way to the end, at the very end of the game, they hint at the fact that we were going to Tevinter for this game. And at the time, it was super exciting because the first 3 games built up Tevinter to be like this crazy mage run, like oligarchy, like these families with corrupt magic and crazy magic. Like, it's supposed to be this fantastical place that's just unlike any other place in the world. And I didn't get that from this game. This game, Tevinter, felt like Minrathous, I guess, is like the one, I guess, Tevinter city we really go to. And it was just very blah. It didn't live up to the hype that was like the 3 other games built it up to be. And again, it's not, to be fair, maybe it never could. I mean, again, 3 games worth of hype. While this 1 game, they only have this 1 game to like make Tevinter be cool. But like, yeah, just like, I don't know, like the main story of this game, the main villains, it was just very blah. I just had no sense of urgency. Nothing. Companion wise, they were okay. None of them really stood out to me. Yeah, I mean, they were just fine. I will say that I did feel like some of the companions, actually I think all the companions, there's nothing really outstanding about any of them, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, they were all just fine. Nothing to write home about, honestly. But yeah. Story-wise, it's just okay. The only story-wise, the only big gripe I have is the end of this game, and that's mostly due to other people. Where other people, they were hyping up the ending of this game, like, oh man, the ending of this game is where it's at. It's Mass Effect 2 levels of awesome and greatness. And I can tell you right now, that is bullshit, horseshit. They are coping so hard. The copium they're inhaling, I want it because it's just boggles my mind. Like, it's not bad, but like there are some story decisions in this game that just make absolutely no sense whatsoever. So spoiler warning, just straight up spoiler warning. I'm going to talk about basically near the end of this game, or the ending of the game. And so just know that off the bat. So, okay. So, near the end of the game, they give you have to basically pick either Davrin or Harding to go on a mission that will lead to their death. And story-wise, it just doesn't work. Like, the way it's done doesn't work. Because, again, I'm not mad that they died. That's neither here or there. But it's just the way it's implemented is just so bad. It's so horrible. And also, it doesn't make sense from a narrative perspective. Because if you do, let's say, all the companion quests, and you Davrin and has, completed his bond with Asan. They have Turmoil. They have, become one. So, the logical story progress for that story would be like, at this critical moment, that bond shined through, show that bond is what kept them together and what got them through, helped them survive. But no, they just get killed off. Similar with Harding, where you find out what happened to the dwarves and her magic, why she has magic now, and her connection to the earth and all that stuff. You would think that story-wise, progression-wise, her coming to terms with herself, what happened with her new powers, will empower her. So when the time comes, when she reaches that moment, her abilities, that she's no longer, fighting and more embracing and has not denied, is no longer denying a part of herself, she's able to overcome and overpower and survive that encounter. But no, she just dies. So it just, from a story, like, if it was just main story-wise, okay, it would make sense. But for their individual stories, it makes no sense. And it's just that conflict that it just annoys me, because it logically doesn't make sense, and story-wise it doesn't make sense for them. And I know what they were trying to go for. They're trying to go for like Mass Effect 1, choosing Ashley over Kaidan. But the problem with that is that unlike this game, unlike Veilguard, Mass Effect, they were just characters that you just talked to. You didn't go on quests with them. You didn't help them grow as characters. You didn't build them up. You just talked to them and got to know them. And whoever you just liked more, that's who you chose. That's who you picked to survive. For Veilguard, it doesn't work because they have their own narrative plots. And for that narrative plot, just like to not culminate into something, to show for something, it just makes that narrative feel flat. Like, at that point, my next run is like, I'm not gonna bother doing Harding's companion quest because I'm just gonna kill her off anyway. So I'm not gonna bother. Just don't bother doing her quest. Don't bother doing nothing with her. Just kill her off, and that's it. She never had a story to complete regardless. And that's why it didn't work for me in this game, because like, since each character has their own narrative that they have to come to, or their like character moment, character conclusion, I guess I don't know how else to put it, but it just didn't work with how they died. Because again, it's not the fact that they died, that's fine, but it's the fact of how they died, how it's implemented, that just doesn't work. It makes no sense. And that's the part that aggravated me the most. It's just like, logically and narratively, it makes no sense. And yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. Apologies. Spoilers over. But yeah, these are my final thoughts on Dragon Age the Veilguard. The game is not bad. It's not bad. It's just, it was not what I was hoping for. Not what I wanted. Combat was you know, very bland, generic, restrictive at certain points. Story-wise, I just also was just very bland. I didn't feel no sense of urgency. Companions were okay, but there was like, I didn't feel a real connection to any of them, to either of them. I just feel like I had 2 conversations with them and we were already best friends, it felt like. Just, I don't know, just, I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel like that connection was really built up. And then visually, again, environment-wise looks fine, but like the game just, the vibe is not dark fantasy, it's not Dragon Age, very cartoony when it comes to the character designs and enemy designs. And yeah, it's just, overall, it was okay, but just not what I was hoping for, and not what I wanted from a Dragon Age game. But yeah, again, all of you who've been following me probably already know this, and I already know I'm gonna get a lot of hate in the comments. I'm gonna get a bunch of the dislike to like ratio on this video, I already know is gonna be like 1 like to like 90 dislikes. That's just how it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. Oh well, I'm sorry. But those are my thoughts. That's my review. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or comment down below. I appreciate any and all feedback. Subscribe. I'm streaming on Twitch, so please consider following me there at twitch.tv/JustAGamerInc, all together in one word. Or you can click the link below. But what are your thoughts on Veilguard? Did you beat it? Like, do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Maybe I missed something. Let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate anything you have to say. But regardless, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care and have a good game.